there. It's not too much background noise. Okay, I'm filming this from the floor today because nobody's home to see that I'm filming anything. Hi, my name is Alicia and I recently turned 25. Lately, I've been consuming a lot of media by creators that are more seasoned than myself, both in age and obviously like experience in media, who have made work surrounding a similar theme. They have had the time and distance to reflect on their own lives and have been kind enough to share the lessons that they've learned along the way. One of those influences has been Chelsea Fagan's podcast, Just Getting Good, where she interviews women over 50 years old. And they just have a conversation about, age, money, love, and all the choices that have shaped their lives up until that point. Reaching this milestone age of 25 has made me want to do the same. And obviously, I'm not gonna have the wisdom of someone twice my age, but I know a lot more than I did when I was like 16, 18, 20, even 23. So I wanted to be able to share some of the life lessons I've learned along the way in hopes that someone younger than me, or even my age or older, can take away some advice and implement it into their own lives. Here are 25 things I've learned by 25. If I even keep that as the title. Anyways. My first piece of advice: shopping is not a hobby. Hear me out. With this influx of people artfully displaying their crafts online or showing off a new sport that they picked up, or they're dubbing 2026 as the year of going analog, has come with this influx of people who are taking on new hobbies and spending copious amounts of money in order to do so. And these are hobbies that maybe you'll stick with, but let's be honest, it's more likely that you're gonna do it for a little while and drop it, or you're gonna just move on to the next thing. And listen, I speak from experience. I am the queen of getting new materials for new hobbies and not really following through, not really using them. Like, my entire art room is just filled with, sure, like my art things from school, but also hobbies that I have tried picking up and then did not stick with for more than a month or so. I've tried crocheting, sewing, needle felting. At one point I wanted to make stop motion puppets and I bought all the materials and I didn't make a freaking puppet. So essentially my art studio is just where all my hobbies have gone to die. I think part of the reason why I've done this is because buying the materials feels like you're already committing to the hobby without having actually done it, Like, I get you want to buy the appropriate clothing or the equipment for a new sport that you're starting, or, hi baby, hi papa, come sit here, sit with me. And this might look like buying the appropriate clothing for the sport that you're gonna pick up, the equipment, maybe you're buying rackets, maybe you're buying like a high quality alpaca wool for the new crochet project you wanna start. Or this might look like buying an online course from somewhere like Domestika, which is something that I've done before. But all of this is more of like a shopping hobby or shopping addiction, What happened? Come here. You want to sit with me? Now I'm gonna read off my laptop, but you could combat that by borrowing equipment and materials instead. Maybe you can do that from a friend or check out if your local library has the equipment available. You can pick up an old hobby that uses materials you already have. You can try renting equipment or look for rec centers that offer free equipment rentals when you book a court for pickleball, for example. You can buy a cheap version of something and use it until it breaks before investing in, that nice quality brand name equipment. Or in the same vein, you kind of have to prove to yourself that you're gonna commit to this new hobby. When I was struggling to go to the gym throughout the winter and after I started my full-time job, I promised myself that I could get a new workout set if I committed to going to the gym 4 times a week for, I think it was 3 weeks. And maybe to some, that's not gonna sound like a lot, but for me, it was a huge commitment because I wake up at 5:30 a.m. I leave my house at 6. I arrive at work to start at 8 o'clock. I leave work at 5 and I get home at 7. So I was going to the gym after I got back home from work at 7 p.m. So after proving to myself that I could do that, I bought the workout set. The next piece of advice I have is that you are never too young to be financially literate. This piece of advice is in direct opposition to girl math. Do not use girl math. You are a grown woman, or you will be. And you need to make financial decisions with your future self in mind. Invest as soon as you're legally allowed. So look into the investment accounts in your country. For example, Canada has TFSA, FHSA, RRSP. We also have RESP, but that's specifically for education. But I'm also not a financial advisor, so go to your bank and ask. You also want to look for resources online that are going to teach you about finances. A few that I like are Chelsea Fagan, obviously. I like Chelsea Fagan. I like Mia McGraw. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I enjoy listening to Vivian Tu's podcast. Something that really pushed me to focus on my finances is watching videos of older people talk about how they can't retire because they did not save or invest enough when they were younger. And if we're being quite frank, if you just look at the people around you, you look at people and you don't like the lives that they're living because they were financially irresponsible when they were younger. It really pushes you to keep yourself in check and making responsible financial decisions at a younger age. And that's not to say that you should penny pinch and don't enjoy life. It's just a push towards making informed financial decisions and expecting to live long and wanting to live well. My next lesson: you are a product of your environment. You will become what you practice, what you see, what you think, and what you consume. The music that you listen to will deeply affect how you feel. If you listen to self-deprecating music, you are going to internalize that and have those self-deprecating thoughts yourself. And listen, I love my sad girl music, but I'm not listening to that all the time. I specifically have a playlist titled Energy that really speaks to the thoughts that I want to internalize. It's a lot of Beyonce and it's a lot of Megan. Much of that playlist is women that lift themselves up, that boost your ego, and those are the thoughts that I want to internalize. You will adopt the traits of the people that you are closely surrounded by. So if the people that you hang around with most are lazy, entitled, hateful bums, you're gonna be like that too. If they are ambitious, driven, compassionate, and constantly seeking to satisfy their curiosities, you will be too. If you watch positive movies, or if you closely follow artists that are ambitious and hardworking, then I think you're going to be inspired to chase after your ambitions as well. I think you need to draw your attention towards people who have passion, grit, resilience, and goal-driven attitudes in order to possess that yourself. That's why it's so important to carefully choose who you befriend, where you live, who you live with, the relationships that you get into. It's just another reminder that you are what you eat. My next piece of advice: you only need to care about the opinions of people you admire and want to learn from. This might be a controversial take, but I don't respect everybody's opinion. I understand that you are entitled to have one, but I don't respect everyone's. If I think lowly of someone's character, if they are not bringing factual information to the topic that they're debating, if they're not aspirational, they don't have goals, they're lazy, they're entitled, I couldn't care less what they have to say. And if you learn to draw that boundary early, you're going to be saving yourself so much time and energy and internal conflict about the decisions that you're going to make in your own life. My next piece of advice is contribute to the communities that you benefit from. Pay your transit fare, clean the gym equipment, put the grocery cart back, offer to do the dishes if your friend prepared the meal. And if you still live at home, like me, 25, offer to cook, clean, pay for groceries, and Just don't be a burden to your parents or whoever is allowing you to stay. The people that are not being paid to help you are not obligated to do so. And I don't think any one individual should prance around and be served all the time. You know, there has to be a balance, and you have to return the kind favors that others do for you. So even if you are paying for a service, like a gym membership or you're visiting a grocery store, follow all the rules, both official and unofficial, that help keep that establishment running smoothly and safely, both for others and for yourself. Don't be the person that only takes. Just kind of makes you a piece of shit, you know? Next piece of advice: don't date until you have that damn degree. Listen, I don't have much advice in terms of romantic relationships, but the one piece of advice I have to say is don't prioritize one so early on in your life. And I especially emphasize this for young girls. Do not choose your university or college based on where your boyfriend is going. Don't skip class so that you can hang out with a boy, and do not get pregnant. You know how strict parents, especially strict immigrant parents, they're gonna tell you don't date, focus on school? They're kind of right. Obviously, this is a generalization, and there are gonna be young people, young adults, kids, teens in high school that can handle a stable relationship and also focus on school. But it's gonna be harder, and it's gonna be more time spent, it's gonna be more of a distraction, and a lot of the times, it's not gonna last. I have heard stories from women who have undergone such mistreatment from horrendous men and have been in such despair that they have had setbacks to their academic careers. Like, I'm talking academic suspension. I'm talking about dropping out of professional school. I'm talking about taking 6 years to complete an undergraduate degree that should have taken 4 years. And yes, I understand there are stressors aside from the drama of their romantic partners, but I still don't think it is worth it to have a romantic partner. Alternatively, prioritize your betterment. Prioritize your education, your health, your career, and your platonic relationships. Because in my experience, those are the things that matter, those are the things that have value, and those are the things that are gonna last. This might not apply to everyone, but the next piece of advice is treat your pets like your children. If you own a pet, you have a moral obligation to give it the best life possible. Pet ownership is akin to parenthood in that it is an insane level of responsibility, and the well-being of this otherwise helpless creature is completely in your hands. It doesn't matter if you get like a fish or a bunny or a cat or a dog. Do not get a pet if you are not willing to spend time with them, stimulate their brains, take them on walks, if that applies, you know, get them toys and do fun activities with them. Don't get a pet if you're not willing to feed them healthy foods, or if you're not willing to take on vet bills and sudden medical emergencies. And even if you really want to, you might not be in the position to. Like, you might not be in the financial position to. You also have to find them trusted care if you go on vacation or a trip. A pet can really be the greatest joy in your life, and I speak as someone who recently got Theo, who, like, I can't even call him a dog. Like, that's my baby. Like, he is everybody's favorite family member. Don't take on that responsibility unless you have the stability to. The next piece of advice is my golden rule. Nothing is embarrassing if everything is funny. I have held back so much in life because of the social anxiety I had throughout my childhood and teen years. For example, I didn't join the photography club in high school, even though I wanted to. I didn't ask teachers for help because I was scared. And, you know, I didn't even go to my athletic banquet when I was on the volleyball team because I just felt intimidated in certain spaces, and I didn't feel like I belonged in certain spaces. I think a lot of that has come from being overly criticized from a young age. And when that happens, you really just internalize it and you judge yourself before anyone else does. You don't give anyone the opportunity to, so you kind of just cower. But what I've learned since then is that the key to confidence is just proving to yourself time and time again why you're kind of the shit. Even though a lot of the time I don't feel like it, you just have to trick yourself into thinking that you are. And that's gonna come from showing up, being kind, doing hard things, and just proving to yourself that you can put yourself out there and it's not gonna kill you. I've really thrived off of external validation. And, some people will say, you don't need it, but I need it. Sometimes you do need that external validation for it to develop internally. So be proud of your awards, be proud of your achievements, and really internalize any words of encouragement that you've gotten. If you need to, keep a list on your phone or in your notebook of your proof. And your proof is gonna look like literally everything that you're proud of. It's gonna be kind things that you've done. It's gonna be compliments that stuck. It is teachers that believed in you. And they don't have to be super grand achievements. They just have to be evidence that you are capable of doing things. Once I got older, I'd say maybe 20 or so, I realized that no one gives a fuck. Like, people are so absorbed in their own lives that if you do something kind of stupid and embarrassing on the side, they're gonna glance your way and then they're just gonna keep going on about their day. And once you realize no one gives a fuck, that embarrassment really goes away. And when you do stumble, when you have an embarrassing moment, or I don't know, just something that you're not proud of, you just have to laugh at it. You just have to say, oh, that was so fucking funny. And then you move on. That is the basis of this piece of advice. You just have to realize that nothing is embarrassing. Everything is just funny, Girl, if I fail a test, that's funny sometimes. If I, do bad in a critique, that's funny. And I will laugh about bad things that happen to me with my friends, okay? Something critical to this advice is also having a group of friends or people that you love and trust that you could laugh at yourself with, You have to make sure that they are not going to laugh at you. They're just gonna laugh with you. And if you're on the other side of that social anxiety demon, then it is your turn to give out the compliments, say those words of affirmation towards other people who might be, a bit insecure, who don't have the best confidence, be someone else's proof that they are capable of doing things. A little positive reinforcement for someone in their formative years is gonna go such a long way. I know, I still remember kind words that have been said by my art teacher or my English teacher, and I've carried that with me all these years. And I just remember that they're believing in me. They're believing in little 15-year-old me, and I'm 25 now and I still remember kind words that they've said. I had to take a break from filming because my camera battery ran out, so it's the next day. But I just ate an all-you-can-eat buffet, and I think I ate 10 billion calories. So if I literally sound out of breath while I'm talking, that's why. The next lesson, very important, humility is inevitable. If you go about life thinking, that can never be me, oh girl, the universe has a way of humbling you. Instead, try to carry this attitude of, thank God that is not me, or I am so grateful that I don't have to experience such hardship. And this lesson of humility will come at you in a much gentler manner. I feel like I have to say it, but my humbling experience was a fender bender that happened just a couple days after I turned 25. So I got my license when I was 16, my G1 license in Ontario, which is, it allows you to drive on the road after taking a written test. Since then, it has been 9 years, and I have never once gotten into any accident or any collision But I recently had a fender bender, and prior to that, I thought I was untouchable on the road. I thought I was the best driver. I thought I was the best driver out of all my siblings. I thought like, I'm so comfortable on the road and nothing's gonna touch me. Oh girl, I touched someone else. Yeah, so that's all to say. I thought I was untouchable and then got into a small but super embarrassing mishap. So the underlying point is you are not invincible. Be confident, be proud, and take risks, but have grace and humility and be grateful whenever things do work out in your favor. The next thing I've learned is that your body is worth so much more than what it looks like. And this advice goes out to anybody who is struggling with their body image. I have struggled with body image issues since I was a child. I was always the fat kid in my family, okay? And I can always count on my dad, my aunts, my cousins from my dad's side to say something about my weight. Whether it was saying, oh, I looked a little thinner today, or that I look very average compared to my sisters, or maybe it was like my little brother calling me Fei Fei, or my aunts calling me Motu. Like, there was always a comment. Always! Ah! Even when my grandma would comment on strangers saying like, ah, kan nago Motu over there. Like, oh my god, like I would internalize that because I was constantly called fat. So when someone else was called fat, then I internalized that and I got insulted. And I distinctly remember this time when I was 12 years old. My family was on a trip with my aunt and uncle and their family, and my siblings and my cousins, we had gone on this 3-hour kayaking trip, right? And after we were done with that kayaking trip, my cousins and my siblings and we were waiting for our parents to pick us up, and it had been a while. Our parents were late to pick us up. And I remember my cousin, she made a comment about my weight, saying that if we were to starve, she would eat me first. I was 12. And this cousin, I still have a bone to pick with her, but she is like not significantly, but she's got a couple years on me. I was 12, she must have been in like late high school, so she should have known better than to comment about my weight. And I'm sure I have pictures from this time. I don't think I was actually overweight. It was just everyone around me who was smaller and like thinner than me. And I was a Motu by proxy. So she's out here saying she would eat me first so that she doesn't starve, and she's poking my belly. And her little brother, who I think is 3 years older than me, actually says to her, like, that's so mean. And you know what? She's a fucking nurse now. Who'd have thought? I have been both restricting and dieting. I have been binging food. I have been sucking in my tummy since I was conscious of what I look like. And trust me, my family let me know when I was young. And you know what? I'm not always a victim in these circumstances, okay? I remember for cross country, when we were getting our jerseys and the teachers told us to line up from smallest to biggest, I made sure that I was not last. Like, I have been evil too, and being poisoned by such a harsh influx of skinny propaganda has corrupted my mind. But over the years, what I found is learning what your body is physically capable of doing is a way to overcome this skinny epidemic. Like, over the years, I have tried boxing, I have played so many sports in school growing up, and I have taken up weightlifting. And trust me, although I definitely still care about what I look like, I care about it a lot less because I've learned that my body is not solely made to be looked at. It is made for running and lifting and hitting, and I've learned that I'm good at that, and it is a source of pride for me now. Like, look at my arms, okay? I can lift things. I'm strong. I can lift heavy things. Actually, that is not true. The most I bicep curl is maybe 12 pounds, but I can hip thrust a lot. I can hip thrust like 110. And that's doing 888, which is 8 full hip thrusts, 8 cast glute bridges, and an 8-second hold, which is pretty impressive in my books. The next piece of advice is something you have already heard. Don't wait for the perfect moment to use your nice things. You've heard people say, burn that nice candle or use that expensive perfume, because you should not have to deprive yourself of your things and wait for a special occasion to use them. Something I want to add to that, following this advice is going to help you avoid clutter and an accumulation of stuff. For example, I had so many samples of new skincare products or cute little sheet face masks that I never used because I wanted like a special self-care day. But at this point, I'm pretty sure a lot of those things are expired. And if you find that you have something that you're not necessarily saving for a special day, but you're not using either, just regift it. For example, maybe it is a candle or a fragrance you're not a fan of, or maybe you've been gifted a bottle of wine but you're not a huge drinker. There is nothing wrong with giving it away to someone who's actually going to use it. Next, the magic is within you, not around you. I know this sounds really corny, but hear me out. As you age, the excitement surrounding things like birthdays or Christmas, Halloween, and other holidays just fades, and they don't feel like anything more than just your average day. Compare that to when you were a kid. Maybe you and your classmates exchanged handmade cards and chocolates for Valentine's Day. Or you made crafts that pertain to an upcoming holiday and used them to decorate your classroom. Maybe your family got you a cake and invited all your friends over for your birthday. Or your parents decorated your front lawn for the holidays. Once you move out or you reach an age where your parents and the adults around you don't feel like putting in that grand effort, it's only given that these once special occasions are just gonna feel like any other day. I think this also explains why it's so common to be nostalgic for your childhood. So, how do you counteract this effect? You have to take it upon yourself to bring back that joy and magic yourself. Make those days a big deal. For the winter holidays, put up fairy lights, go tobogganing, decorate a Christmas tree, go skating. For Halloween, carve a pumpkin, decorate your front porch. For Halloween, decorate your front porch, carve a jack-o'-lantern, and give out candy even if the number of kids in your neighborhood have drastically dwindled. Start new birthday traditions, invite your loved ones to celebrate with you. You can make plans for Valentine's or Galentine's Day. And I must emphasize, none of these celebrations have to be Pinterest-worthy. I think that's where they get you. You just have to do something to commemorate these days. Like, don't let them pass you by. And I learned this lesson last year when we got Theo. There's something about having a baby in the family that makes you want to make things a big deal again. For us, we made it an effort to celebrate his first birthday, to dress him up for Halloween, and to do something special for Christmas. Essentially, we started making these special days feel exciting again. So my advice, go forth, make these occasions a big deal, and bring back the magic that you so miss. My next piece of advice is simple but crucial. Take lots of photos. This lesson doesn't need much of an explanation, but you will so deeply cherish all the photos you take over the years. I look back at photos from elementary school with equal levels of cringe and endearment, but I'd rather have those embarrassing, silly, funny photos of myself between 10 and 14 than have no photos at all. Nowadays, I use both my phone and my camera to take photos. I really don't want to encourage people to buy new things in this video, but I do have a separate camera and I adore it. I got it secondhand off of Facebook Marketplace for a pretty deep discount, and it is primarily what I use to take my photos, at least for special occasions, not so much the everyday. To me, it feels so much more real than a phone camera. Maybe it's because it lacks distortion, but I've loved all the photos that have come out of it, and I'm so happy with that purchase, I'm not gonna lie. Personally, I'd recommend printing out all your photos and making a physical photo album. I got my photos printed at blacks.ca, but you can also go to, your local Shoppers or Walmart to get it done as well. But I love the idea of creating photo albums and just using those as coffee book tables. What? Coffee table books. Yeah. I think they make great gifts, and you can use them for scrapbooking or for your journal. Just document your life. My next life lesson: if you want to experience more in life, you have to act out of character. The best summer of my life was summer of 2022, and it all came down to forcing myself to have new experiences. I was working in downtown Toronto 4 days a week, leaving my house at 7 a.m. to catch the bus. I was doing online tutoring 5 days a week, which I do at the Toronto Reference Library. To some, that might sound terrible, but it pushed me out of my house and it forced me to make the most of my time outside. This was also in a period where things were opening up after the pandemic. So there was a collective eagerness to just experience things again and be with other people. Throughout the summer, I was going to the library nearly every day to do online tutoring. I was creating art outside of illustration. I was filming and editing videos for the first time. I got my first tattoo. I randomly volunteered to be a background actor for a music video and a short film, and this somehow led to getting an internship at that production studio. Many of these activities are things I'd never thought I'd do. I have always perceived myself as someone who is shy and sheltered, but many of these acts, like reaching out to a tattoo artist, reaching out to a producer, or filming myself in public, require some spunk. I know a lot of people are dubbing 2026 as the year of side quests, and I really encourage everyone to do so. Just have fun. Like, none of the things that you do really have to make sense, and a lot of the time they can bring in new opportunities for yourself in the future. The next life lesson is very crucial. Crucial to understand. People who lack the courage to try often criticize those who do. Listen, it is so much easier to say how you would have done something than to actually do it. It takes next to no effort to criticize someone, but it takes a lot of effort to put yourself out there and be seen trying and failing. And I'm gonna tell you a story that prompted this lesson. So a couple years ago, my family and I, we went on a cruise, right? And on that cruise, there are various forms of entertainment, family karaoke being one of them. So my family attended that event, that family karaoke event, and my sisters and I were debating whether or not we should sing something, right? We were looking through the booklet, myself and my little sister. We kind of chickened out. We didn't see any song that we knew very well, but my older sister, she found a song. She was like, yeah, I'm just gonna sing it. So she signed up. Eventually, it was her turn to sing. She went up there and she did it, okay? All by herself and in front of a crowd of people, which is so admirable because all my siblings and I, 4 of us all together, were extremely shy. We do not typically put ourselves out there, and we stick to ourselves. We're pretty meek. But my older sister, she was so brave. She put herself out there. She sang in front of the whole crowd. She sang Umbrella by Rihanna. I don't remember if she rapped, but she probably did. And when she was finished all of that, and she had her applause, and she sat back down, all my dad could say was, "You were too soft. You should have sang louder." He didn't even give her like a good job, you did well. It was just criticism right away. He only had negative things to say. But you know what my sister did? The next time that she went on a cruise without family, she made it a goal of hers to go up there and sing during karaoke again. And listen, that courage is so admirable. So that's all to say, ignore the criticism that you receive from people that don't try, because they will never do any better themselves. My next piece of advice, be intentional about who you follow. I've learned to stop following influencers whose entire brand is getting paid to exist. For me, that lifestyle is not admirable or realistic, and I think more often than not, that lifestyle is quietly funded by someone else, whether it be, well-off parents or a partner, or it's just built off of selling you something. What actually inspires me are people who are building, learning, or working towards something. After coming to that realization, I have tried to become more selective with who I follow. For example, I follow the Alexander family, so Ashley, Amber, and Andrew, who have their own businesses, and they're also unafraid to speak on politics and current world issues. And that same thing goes for Chelsea Fagan of the Financial Diet. She uses her platform to educate and inform her largely female audience about politics and current world issues that she is very passionate about, and about personal finance. Mia McGraw and Vivian Tu are 2 newer creators that I've added to my media rotation, and they are both in the financial education sector as well. And I have many more names that I could mention but are just not coming to mind right now. But I choose to follow people who better themselves and encourage their audience to do the same. Like, you do not live in a bubble. You did not fall out of the coconut tree, okay? I want the content I consume to enrich my life, not make me feel inadequate or stagnant. And I want my social media feed to consist of people that have more to offer than just their looks or their borderline unattainable lifestyle. If someone inspires me to think deeper, work harder, and pursue more, I think they're worth following. My next life lesson: your team is only as strong as your weakest link. This piece of advice has a lot to do with uplifting everyone in your circle. So if there's anyone who has had the heart to be positive and encourage you, you should have the heart to do the same. So help your friends, help your family. It shouldn't feel good for you to compare your success to anyone else's struggle. If you love them, you should want to see everyone winning. And the same goes for the reverse. Someone else's success is not a signifier of your failure. Help people gain opportunities, help them network, talk big about them to others, and maybe help them in areas where you have more expertise. For instance, if you're into physical fitness, drag your friends and your family to the gym and show them the ropes, show them the basics so that they're able to take their betterment into their own hands. Or if you've started investing and you're more interested in upping your finances, then share your resources and share your knowledge with your friends and family so that they can do the same. You should want better for the people that you love, but do this bearing in mind, it is not your job to carry everyone else's burden. Some people are beyond help, no matter how much love you have for them, no matter how much help you want to give them. Sometimes they don't want to be helped. Some people are beyond help, no matter how much love you have to give them. And it's important to recognize when someone is like a lost cause, for lack of a better word. It's important to recognize when to let something go. Sometimes people don't want to be helped, and you just need to distance yourselves from them. The next piece of advice is controversial and a bit contrary to what I have done. But because of that, it is good advice, okay? Don't choose a career based on your passions. This advice is specifically targeted towards teens and people just who have not experienced early adulthood yet. I implore you, do not choose a passion career without first researching what your day-to-day is going to look like, what your salary range is going to look like, and what the demand of that career is going to be like in the future. This advice is especially important if your passion career is in a notoriously low-paying industry, such as art, for example. And this is especially important advice if you plan on going to post-secondary school to pursue this passion career. Trust me, you do not want to end up in a position where you are thousands of dollars worth in student debt. You have graduated and you either cannot find a job, or all the jobs that are being offered are low paying, or you get a job and you just realize that the career or the job that you wanted so badly and worked so hard to get was not at all what it chalked up to be. Instead, I'd advise you to choose a career that lets you do your passion, not necessarily a career that is your passion. It should grant you the free time, the money, and the energy to enjoy your personal time however you choose to spend it. Like, maybe you want a career that lets you travel, or maybe you want a career that is a true 9 to 5 so that when you clock out, you don't have to think about your day job at all. If you enjoy socializing, maybe you can find a role where you are more client-facing and you are interacting with people every day. Or you can find the opposite if you're more introverted. Ask yourself what you want your life to look like, and then figure out what careers can take you there. So you might want to consider, what are you good at? What kind of work can you tolerate? And what salary are you looking for? Obviously, there's going to be more criteria than that, but that is a separate topic in and of itself. Moving on to the next topic of discussion, limit your substance abuse. Your substance use. Don't get it to the point of abuse. Limit your substance use. This point is pretty straightforward, and I almost hesitate to make it at risk of sounding like, a narc or your mother. But the older I've gotten, the less I find the appeal in things like drinking, smoking, vaping, or using substances. I found that we really normalize the use of substances in our everyday lives. Like, drinking is so normal, having a glass of wine with your dinner, smoking socially, casually having edibles and being high in public. Maybe you know someone who like constantly has a vape in their hand. Maybe you have a friend that likes to kind of binge drink on the weekends, or you have a friend that likes to have a glass of wine with every dinner. And I think that we've excused these habits for so long because everyone tells us that we're young, we should enjoy life while we can. I myself, as someone who is of legal drinking age in Ontario, which is 19 by the way, I was never a huge drinker, you know? I think I credit a lot of that because my parents never drink and there's never alcohol in the house. Yes, I have had times where I've been drunk, maybe I think 3 occasions where I've been drunk, but it was always with friends and people that I trusted. Maybe when I was in college, I'd have a beer with my roommate for dinner. We'd split a beer. I wouldn't even have like a whole can to myself. So because I never grew up with parents that had alcohol casually, I never had this dependence on alcohol or a need for it to constantly be available. And I think that has helped me realize that I don't even like alcohol. You know, I don't like the taste of it unless it tastes like juice or soda. But then I realized at that point, just have juice or soda. Like, you don't need the extra empty calories that alcohol has. A couple years ago, I read this book called Eat Pretty. I think it's by Jolene Hart. Let me look it up. Oh my god, I was right. It's by Jolene Hart. The book Eat Pretty is essentially a book that tells you all the foods that are making you ugly and the foods that you should be eating if you want to be pretty. And listen, I am one to enjoy life. I literally just ate at an all-you-can-eat buffet, okay? It was ikiban, and it was a lot of fried food, a lot of carbs, a lot of oil, a lot of mango pudding, okay? That's not to say that you shouldn't enjoy life, but I think it is very smart to be aware of the foods that you should not consume in excess. And pretty early on in that book, it gives you a list of the top foods that you should not be consuming. And at the top of the very list is alcohol. The reasons why you should avoid it is, again, you're basically consuming empty calories. They don't offer nutritional benefits. It causes hormonal imbalance. It stresses your liver and affects blood flow to the skin. So you're either looking dull or super red. Okay? Asian glow, super red. Not to mention, alcohol is a group 1 carcinogen, which means it is literally causing cancer. Or increases your risk of cancer. I should clarify. According to the National Cancer Institute, there is strong scientific evidence that alcohol drinking can cause cancer. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classified alcohol as a group 1 carcinogen in 1987 due to sufficient evidence that it causes cancers of the oral cavity, pharynx, larynx, esophagus, and liver in people. There's nothing good about it. It makes you feel funny. But other than that, it's not great. And I understand that a lot of the events, a lot of celebratory events, feature substances, you know? Like, we'll pop a bottle of champagne in celebratory circumstances. Maybe you're at a wedding and you'll have a signature cocktail. We have alcohol when we socialize at bars, at restaurants, at parties. I don't know how, but it has become a marker of celebration and leisure and enjoyment. People even use it to relax along with cigarettes or, you know, nicotine vapes, right? But here's the thing, you can enjoy all these events without the consumption of these substances. And I think this advice is especially pertinent to people who have addictive personalities. Just don't start. Just don't start drinking alcohol or vaping or anything. Not to mention, not only are you consuming things that are detrimental to your own health and are wasting your life away, but you're wasting money as well. Besides the funny enjoyment factor, there's really no other benefit to these substances. And you can have fun without them, like I mentioned. Obviously, I don't want to please anyone here on what they're drinking or consuming, and I do want people to enjoy life, but in terms of substances, have those in moderation. Save those for the very occasional celebratory events. I'd say don't have any at home where you can just consume it very casually and whenever you feel like it. Make it hard to access for yourself so that you're not risking the temptation. The next life lesson, you have to learn how to get things done even when your conditions are not ideal. I'm someone who finds it very difficult to work if I am not in the mood to, or if I lack motivation to in the moment. I think the hardest part is starting the work. And I will make my conditions ideal for productivity. Like, I'll have some really nice calming background music on, I'll have a warm drink on the side, I'll make sure the lighting is not too harsh and is easy on the eyes. But that's all a procrastination tactic to avoid doing the actual work. It is very hard for your environment to be in the perfect condition. Sometimes it might be too loud, sometimes it might be too hot or too cold, but you just have to learn how to start. You'll feel much better knowing you got some work done and made some progress towards your goals. Next, action beats perfection. Your perfectionism, your fear of failure, and your endless preparation are all working against you. Action will do so much more for you than planning every microscopic detail in a plan will ever do. Oftentimes, ideating and preparation is just a form of procrastination because although it makes you feel productive, you aren't really because you're not actually starting. It just feels safer than actually executing your plans. You can't fail if you've never started. Another way to put this is done is better than perfect. Don't let your ideas marinate. You have to be okay with putting out sloppy work. Just act on your ideas. Your first try at anything will never be your best, but you have to go through the ugly stages to get to where you want to be. My next piece of advice, things will work out if you decide they will. With any goal you have in life, the first step is to decide on your end destination, and then you just have to figure out how to get there. And if every decision that you make from there on out is a step towards that destination, eventually you will land there. And you have to realize there is not one single route to your destination. There are countless paths to get there. Enthalpy's law. Even medical doctors, you'd think that the steps in order to become an MD are straightforward and there is a singular correct path in order to get there, right? For example, get good grades in high school, get into a good undergraduate program, complete your prerequisites, get a high GPA, get a good MCAT score, apply to medical schools, get into a medical school, med school for 4 years, residency, and then you're an attending, right? But in actuality, there are so many different paths you could take in order to get to that attending role. For example, some med schools don't require certain prerequisite courses. Some med schools might be 3 years. Some schools prefer candidates with published papers, with research experience, with a lot of clinical hours, right? Some people will completely pivot out of their already established careers in order to pursue MDs in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on. The point is, if you have a goal, you just need to angle every step towards it and you will eventually get there. It's like golf, or mini golf because that's less serious, but you can take as many tries as you need in order to get your goal into that little hole, right? But at the end of the day, all the players are going to complete the course and you will all finish. No matter how many times it takes to get your ball in the hole, you will make it in. You just have to keep trying and do not give up. Next lesson. Setting boundaries will protect your sanity. I've learned that if you do not hold people accountable, they will keep crossing your boundaries. Not in any malicious way, but they will do it consistently. They don't always realize when they do something that bothers you, which is why you have to tell them. Vocalize it, because otherwise the only person that suffers is you. You shouldn't have to quietly carry everything yourself while everyone benefits from your time, your energy, and your willingness to help. And accountability, it can be small or practical, right? It could be asking someone to wash the dishes, to clean up after themselves, or to keep shared spaces clean. And listen, I totally get it. Being silent is always going to feel easier in the moment, but the more you continuously allow people to disrespect you, your time, or your effort, you're just teaching people that you're totally okay with that. Setting boundaries is going to be uncomfortable, but the more you let things slide, the more resentment builds up within you. The next lesson I've learned, rest is not laziness. I've learned that rest is not something you earn after you burned out. It's something that you should schedule if you want to last. I have had times in college where I was working until 5 a.m., sleeping, and then waking up for an 8 a.m. class, just to sit there for 3 hours for maybe like a 10-minute consultation with a teacher, just to get back to my room and crash. And I remember telling this to my friends constantly. I was always telling them, it feels like my brain is not tethered to my body. You are not meant to be productive in every waking hour. Without rest, burnout is inevitable. Although I can improve in this area myself, you need to treat rest like you treat work. So schedule it. That means protecting your sleep, building in quiet hours, and putting away screens when your eyes and your brain need a break. Think of rest as a long-term investment. It's like oiling your gears so that it doesn't break down. And rest doesn't just mean sleep, although it probably is the most important kind. But rest can look like exercising, it could look like going on a walk, it can look like laying out in the sun, drawing, reading fiction. Fiction, okay, not self-help. Rest can also look like catching up with a friend, reducing background noise, or just spending time with your pet. And rest does not have to look like a full day off. It can look like an extra 30 minutes to just chill and turn your brain off, or it can look like a few extra hours of sleep. You just need to give yourself time to step back and recharge. My last piece of advice, and this is probably the most important in regards to productivity, is start that thing today. If I'm to talk about my own experience, I have been wanting to start YouTube since I was a kid. I remember starting to watch YouTube videos when I was like in grade 5, and that was that golden era of Lily Singh, Superwoman, Jenna Marbles, Ryan Higa. I think Bethany Moda was active during that time. Basically, it was the golden age. And that was when I was 10 years old. I'm 25 now, so I've just grown up watching YouTube. And after that generation of YouTubers, I was gonna say after they passed. They have not passed, they are still here. But, you know, I've watched the next generation, like Emma Chamberlain and, you know, the Dolan Twins, Sister Squad. I've, you know, had my favorites, right? Like Stephanie Sue. I've watched people in the beauty community. I watched Shane Dawson. I have, okay? Before, you know, before that. Before, you know, what happened. It's not a laughing matter. And throughout all of this, I have had an ongoing list of video ideas in my notes for years. I've developed this weird thing where my inner monologue says we instead of I. And when I was younger and I was, you know, doing makeup or I was doing my hair in front of a mirror, I would almost like talk to myself as if I was filming a video. The point is, I have always been such an avid and active watcher, and I've always found so much entertainment in other people's videos. But I've always had this inner desire to post things myself. I even remember my classmate in grade 8 told me that he could see me making YouTube videos along with my friend, and that was like confirmation for me, and this desire has not gone away since. And you know what? I am not getting any younger, and this feeling will persist, so I might as well nurture it. So this piece of advice, start that thing today, is for anyone who has an inner desire to do something, who has had this persistent feeling of wanting something that will just not go away. So start that blog, write that story, play that sport, just make time to do your creative endeavors. And the nice thing about this is that you do not have to set such high expectations for yourself. Just do it for fun. The goal in and of itself is to start and do that thing that you've always wanted to do. So with that, it concludes the 25 lessons I've learned in 25 years. As a disclaimer, because I feel like I need to put one in, Each lesson I've learned or each lesson I've listed in this video could be further explained, right? Everything is very nuanced, and if I were to delve into it much deeper, this video would be a million years long. If you've stayed for the entire duration of this video, thank you so much. I really hope that I've said something that you've been able to take away and you intend to implement in your own life. I will say, I'm definitely not where I thought I was going to be at 25. That is okay, because I don't think what I thought was realistic. And I have so much of my life to live, and I have so much time. That's another lesson. You have a lot of time. I'm only 25. I don't know everything. I'm still learning new things, okay? But I do feel like I have a lot of wisdom to give, especially to people younger than myself. I will say though, a lot of these lessons you can only really internalize after you have experienced them and after you've experienced the consequences of your own actions. But I'm grateful for the lessons that I've learned. I'm eager to share those lessons with others, and yeah, I'm excited to see what my mid to late 20s have to bring. I hope they're good. I hope I'm thriving at 30. I hope I'm 30, flirty, and thriving in 5 years. I do hope to document more of my life, especially now that I am, listen, I'm not aging. Well, I am aging, but I don't feel old. I don't feel like my frontal lobe has really fully developed yet. Yeah, I feel like I'm still immature in a lot of ways. I know that my mid to late 20s are gonna bring me more life lessons that I can share at my next milestone age, which is 30. And I do hope to be more present on YouTube. Like I said in my last lesson, I am young, but life is short. I'm gonna do more of the things that I want, and I'm gonna work harder. Yeah, I just want to put in the work, and I want to be happy with where I am in 5 or so years. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. I hope to see you at the next one, whenever that is. Thank you.